Watching Rust Valley Restorers through the thematic lens of Diamond in the Rough reveals a series that operates less as entertainment and more as an extended metaphor for creative obsession, aging ambition, and the difficult negotiation between romantic ideals and practical survival. And from its earliest scenes, the show establishes Rust Valley as a physical manifestation of deferred intention, a landscape where time has been both preserved and squandered, and the camera's lingering shots of rusted vehicles embedded in grass and soil function almost like archaeological imagery, suggesting that these cars are artifacts of choices postponed rather than simply abandoned. And Mike Hall's presence within this environment is crucial, because he does not behave like a conventional entrepreneur but like a curator who refuses to discard flawed exhibits. And this refusal is portrayed with empathy rather than ridicule, especially in scenes where Mike recounts the origins of certain cars. Stories that transform scrap metal into moral obligations, and as a critic I find these moments deeply effective because they remind us that value is rarely intrinsic, it is assigned through narrative, memory, and emotional investment. Yet Diamond in the Rough also insists on interrogating this belief by introducing Avery Shove as a counterforce, a man whose worldview is shaped by finite resources and measurable outcomes. And the friction between these two perspectives generates the series' most compelling scenes, particularly when discussions about money become discussions about identity. And what impresses me is how the show avoids simplifying this conflict, allowing Avery moments of vulnerability and Mike moments of self-awareness, rather than reducing them to archetypes. And this complexity is amplified through the show's structure, which favors long arcs of effort over quick resolutions, emphasizing that restoration is not an event but a discipline. And this is especially evident in sequences that depict planning, budgeting, and reassessment, processes rarely dramatized in reality television but here treated as integral to the narrative, and these scenes resonate with anyone who has ever tried to turn passion into sustainability, because they expose the uncomfortable truth that love alone does not pay for materials, labor, or time. And yet Diamond in the Rough refuses to suggest that practicality should erase passion, instead advocating for a synthesis that is difficult, fragile, and constantly under threat. And Connor Hall's role embodies this synthesis, as he navigates the technical demands of restoration while mediating emotional tensions between his father and Avery. And some of the most quietly powerful moments in the series involve Connor insisting on standards that contradict Mike's instincts, such as redoing work that was done too quickly or refusing to move forward without proper assessment. And these moments carry emotional weight because they challenge the traditional narrative of inheritance, presenting succession not as continuation but as correction. And as someone who has observed similar dynamics in creative families, I find this portrayal unusually honest, showing how respect sometimes requires resistance, and the series' attention to physical labor reinforces its thematic depth, with repeated close-ups of hands sanding, welding, and measuring serving as visual metaphors for care, patience, and accountability. And these images gain additional meaning when contrasted with shots of the yard, where neglected vehicles symbolize what happens when intention outpaces execution. And Diamond in the Rough repeatedly returns to this contrast, using space itself as a narrative device, with the shot representing focus and the yard representing excess. And as the series progresses, changes in how characters move through these spaces reflect internal shifts, such as Mike spending less time wandering the yard and more time engaged in structured work, signaling a reorientation of values without explicit dialogue. And the decision to complete and sell a flagship restoration becomes a pivotal moment not because of its financial outcome but because of what it demands emotionally, forcing Mike to release a project that validates his belief while also challenging it. And the understated way the show handles this departure is notable, avoiding celebratory music or exaggerated reactions, instead allowing silence and subtle expressions to convey the complexity of letting go. And this restraint aligns with the show's broader aesthetic, which favors authenticity over spectacle, and this approach invites viewers to project their own experiences onto the narrative, whether those involve unfinished creative projects, career transitions, or relationships defined by unresolved tension. and in my own viewing experience I found myself reflecting on abandoned manuscripts, ideas that once felt essential but eventually became burdens. And this personal engagement is a testament to the show's depth, because it transforms the niche subject into a universal exploration of commitment and change. And Diamond in the Rough ultimately argues that restoration is not about returning something to an imagined original state but about making conscious choices about what is worth preserving and why, and this argument is reinforced by the show's refusal to offer neat endings, presenting Rust Valley as a place still full of risk and uncertainty, but now guided by intention rather than inertia, and as a piece of television, Rust Valley Restorers stands out precisely because it allows discomfort to remain unresolved, trusting that the audience can sit with ambiguity, recognize growth without perfection, and understand that the most valuable transformations are often invisible, occurring not in the shine of fresh paint but in the quiet recalibration of priorities.